post-COVID, we all started working from home, at least for a short period of time, and that's when we realized that there has to be some way in which the digital technology intervention should be embraced more and more to help us reach out to the ultimate beneficiary, which is the patient. Most of the pharma companies have a motto. My organization talks about caring for life. Many pharma companies have the patient as the center of all their operations. They are the pivot of all their operations. How to reach out to patients was the biggest challenge. So that challenge slowly came into the legal team also. We were trying to figure out how to manage. I'll give you a simple example. The manufacturing of pharmaceutical manufacturing, because essentially medicines had to be provided to consumers, and therefore it was required that even during COVID, the factories, manufacturing facilities work. Now, how did we as a legal team try to adjust towards protecting the life of our own employees as well as the life of millions of people across 80 plus countries in the world in which we operate? Number one. Number two, we were also grappling with the quality management systems. Now, earlier, when you look at US law, it talks about 21 safer, and right at that time, I'm not talking about now, after COVID-19, much earlier than today, we had many systems in the world which talks about how to maintain processes and systems in the organization. And data becomes the pivotal point for us. The third thing, most of the research companies in the world grapple with data in the form of IP, in the form of patient data, in the form of doctors' information. I'm sorry, I'm again going back to my industry, so I'll just keep on talking about that. So patients, doctors, the social importance of giving affordable medicines to people, reaching out to doctors. For example, earlier you had medical representatives, you had gone to hospital, you had seen some medical representatives with huge bags. What were contained in the bags is a mystery. Because most of these are big bags, right? And these bags, they would be lining up before the doctor's clinic, and that has changed now. Now people go with a simple mobile phone or like an iPad, and they just describe the scientific and medical basis of why our drug should be superior or better in quality, efficacy for a patient. So I'll get to the details in the next probably the round that come up. But for a lawyer to understand, and I would urge most of the young students sitting here, and to try to get into industries, not only pharma industry, but all the industries. And that is when you get to learn that lawyering is not just giving legal advice, lawyering is not just making contracts, lawyering is not just understanding about a deal or a transaction. In today's world, we are even talking about data being utilized to find out whether to invest in a company or not. So the lawyer's role is now metamorphosed into data-specific, data-driven lawyering going forward.
So before Pranay comes, understand that quantum of disruption. Earlier, doctors used to prescribe, and patient or consumer, whatever you call, need to buy the medicine. Now they are challenging why you are prescribing this medicine. So doctor being God, next to God, is reduced. They are on the ground today. That's a big disruption. In days to come, medicine will not be prescribed only by doctors. There will be AI behind prescribing medicine. As a lawyer, if there is a dispute, whom you will sue, how you will take it. Okay? Radiology. The whole radiology is gone. It's over. It's gone. It will machine who will be diagnosing interpreting every radiology diagnostic, whatever outcome is. So these are radical changes. As a lawyer, think from that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed. My name is Pranay Lekhi, and I am an international arbitration and public international law lawyer at Allen & Overy in London. And it's a pleasure to be here. Just before I begin, I think it's fascinating to see the various perspectives of individuals who are lawyers but doing slightly different things from each other, and how technology impacts them very differently in each case. And just to build on that theme that Mr. Jawaharlal started, I'm going to be speaking about how technology is impacting law firms, at least from my perspective. It's interesting because law firms are both consumers as well as suppliers of technology. As consumers, we use technology, for instance, if there is a widespread document review exercise. We will be using artificial intelligence to reduce the gamut of documents from, let's say, 100,000 documents to 20,000 documents. We are using technology, generative AI, to ask discrete queries and build on those discrete queries as well. As consumers of technology and disruptive technologies like artificial intelligence, I think it's become very clear that the quality of lawyering has substantively and will substantively change in the near future. That's primarily because a lot of the administrative tasks that were initially reserved for lawyers on the junior end of the spectrum will now be driven completely by technology. Mr. Ahmed just spoke about how radiology as a practice of medicine is going to become completely redundant soon enough because of how technology is impacting the practice of medicine. The assurance that I want to give you is that lawyers would never become redundant. And that's primarily because law as a profession has an element of morality and judgment involved, which is not quite there in purely scientific professions. So as consumers of technology, lawyers and law firms would obviously become more efficient. So take, for instance, as an analogy, it would be using the latest form of football boot when you play a football match. So what technology will ensure is that lawyers are their most efficient versions when they are practicing the law. And that is where it ends. As suppliers of technology, I think it has fundamentally changed the way in which legal services are offered to the clients and what client expectations are out of lawyers and law firms. There is an element of cost efficiency. Law firms that are on the top end of the market do not only profess to be the best lawyers, but they also profess to be lawyers who can do the work most efficiently, which is why, as suppliers of technology making cost-efficient decisions, it would be more and more important for lawyers to integrate technologies into their practice. Law has traditionally been a very rigid profession. Rigid in the sense it has been impervious to change. We've recently seen there are various high courts in India, for instance, that have refused to even adopt video conferencing to facilitate hearings, for instance, despite diktats from the apex court. And that's primarily because I think lawyers enjoy tradition. We do well with it. We like wearing that black coat, those bands when we go to court, and we're sort of impervious to change. But I think as we become suppliers of technology, as that becomes an essential aspect of the legal practice, it'll be equally important for lawyers to keep abreast of technological developments, be very comfortable in using various technologies, and that would be the expectations that clients would have from us going forward. So I think broadly those are the two ways in which I see technology impacting lawyers who work more as law firm lawyers as opposed to in-house counsels.
Thank you. I'm Vivek Kapoor. I am a barrister. I practice in London and in India, though I primarily live in London. So I think one of the problems of being on such an intelligent panel and being the last speaker is most of the intelligent things have been said. So what I'm going to do is slightly shift gears and talk about something slightly different. We're talking about it's Constitution Day today. That's the theme that we are celebrating. So I'm going to pick up on a very important theme that is the sort of bedrock of the Constitution, rule of law. and how technology is impacting that, both the opportunities as well as the challenges. So Pranay talked about AI, and I think that is going to be one of the biggest challenges to the rule of law. And the reason I say that is, yeah, increasingly in international disputes, we are seeing fake evidence coming up. We are seeing the use of AI where ChatGPT, very recently I was involved in a mining dispute in Africa where there was evidence that was essentially the source was ChatGPT. Now, thankfully, we were not in a situation where, like in the American case, ChatGPT had even created the source that it was citing. But we are increasingly seeing evidence that appears to be very cogent, appears to be very reliable, is perhaps not very reliable. The reason it is a very important aspect is because, as Pranay very rightly said, we are increasingly using AI in law. We are using it in research. We are using it in document review. We are even using it to get themes out of documents. If you're doing a dispute where you have 50,000 documents, the amount of time and cost that's going to be spent to review that is going to be phenomenal. So AI is an important aspect there. AI is also going to play a very important role in dispute resolution when it comes to small and medium-sized disputes. Because I think what sometimes we forget is we all aim for the top end of the dispute market. We all want to do the billion-dollar disputes. We all want the sort of Fortune 500 clients like those sitting on the dais with me today. But the majority of the market is small and medium disputes. An economy runs on small and medium businesses, rather micro